Some people just live in history, but then there are people who actually make it. I'm talking about individuals with a will so powerful they don't just change things, they literally redraw the map. And that's exactly the kind of story we're diving into today, the story of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So how on earth did one man manage to do all that? It's almost hard to believe, right? To really get a handle on his legacy, we're going to walk through 5 key chapters of his life. We'll see him go from this champion of unity to the architect of division, and our guide for this is Stanley Wolpert's incredible biography.
All right, so let's start. And maybe surprisingly, we're not beginning in the Indian subcontinent. Nope, we're starting in London with this kind of puzzle right at the center of the British legal world. So get this, his portrait is hanging in Lincoln's Inn. I mean, this is one of the most prestigious old-school halls of British law. And that's no accident, right? It just makes you wonder, who was this guy? And where did he get the power to literally create a nation?
Well, his biographer, Stanley Wolpert, really nails it. He says that Jinnah's story is it's one of a kind, an unparalleled achievement. Because at his very core, Jinnah was a brilliant lawyer, a barrister. And his biggest case, the one that defined everything, it wasn't argued in some stuffy courtroom. It was argued on the world stage, and the prize was an entire new country.
Okay, but here's where it gets really fascinating. Before he became the man who divided a subcontinent, Jinnah was actually famous for trying to do the exact opposite. He wanted to hold it together. When you look back, his early political life seems like a total paradox.
I mean, for years he was one of the top leaders pushing for a single, independent, united India. He was right there in the trenches with guys like Gandhi and Nehru, fighting for cooperation, for a shared future. And that's how he got that amazing title.
And this, wow, it really shows the massive gap that would eventually change everything. Think about it. Jinnah and Gandhi were like night and day. Jinnah was this sharp, impeccably dressed lawyer, a total constitutionalist. And Gandhi, well, he was the spiritual heart of rural India, of the villages. Their styles, their whole approach, and in the end, their actual vision for a free India, they just couldn't have been more different.
So that's the big question, isn't it? What happened? How does the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity just completely flip the script and go down this totally different, separate road?
Well, it wasn't a single aha moment. It was more of a slow burn, a really painful process of disillusionment that took place over like 2 decades. You can see these key moments, these turning points, like when he officially broke with Gandhi's whole mass movement idea, and later, the famous Lahore Resolution. These were the signposts on this journey away from a united India.
See, for Jinnah, the detail-oriented lawyer, Gandhi's methods weren't about freedom. To him, they looked like an open invitation to total anarchy. He was a guy who believed in rules, in constitutional order, in debating things properly. He just couldn't get behind a movement that he was convinced would end in pure chaos.
And that break, that was fundamental. It set him on a completely new path. And everything from that point on was building towards his final, rock-solid argument. The one that would end up defining his entire legacy and, changing the map for good.
He basically poured every ounce of his being into this one single goal. All of his legal smarts, his political savvy, that incredible force of will, it was all focused on one thing. He was going to argue, no matter the odds, for a separate, sovereign nation for India's Muslims. He treated it like it was the most important legal case of his entire life.
And his argument? It was incredibly simple, but so powerful. He said, India isn't one nation, it's 2. This whole idea became known as the two-nation theory. Basically, that Hindus and Muslims were fundamentally different civilizations, and they each needed their own state. That became the cornerstone of his entire case, and man, his words just galvanized millions of people.
And in the end, he won. He won his case. The verdict? It was the partition of 1947. A brutal, incredibly traumatic event that literally redrew the map of South Asia and carved the new nation of Pakistan out of the body of British India. But wait, the story is not over, not by a long shot.
Because in the exact moment of his biggest victory, with his new nation finally a reality, Jinnah delivered his biggest shocker. And it might just be the most tragic twist in the whole story.
So now he's known as the Quaid-e-Azam, the great leader. He's standing in front of the very first government assembly of the Muslim nation he fought so hard to create. You can imagine, everyone is on the edge of their seats, waiting to hear his grand vision for the future. And then he said this. We're talking just 3 days before Pakistan officially comes into being, and he completely floors everyone. He lays out this vision for a secular state, a place where your religion is your own private business and has absolutely nothing to do with how the country is run.
I mean, talk about a paradox. It's a puzzle that people still debate to this very day. The same man who split a subcontinent apart based on religious identity was now, in his moment of triumph, arguing for a total separation of church and state, or mosque and state in this case.
And that leaves us with this huge, haunting question, one that really gets to the core of what it even means to build a nation. Was this secular vision his true goal the whole time? Or was it something else? Maybe a final, heartbreaking echo of that ambassador of unity from long ago, looking back at what his victory had cost? We'll probably never know for sure. The answer, it seems, is buried with the man who redrew the world map.